into cybersecurity, there's a ton of content out there, and if you don't know where to start, it can be overwhelming, even paralyzing. So let's fix that. Welcome to Simply Cyber, a community of tens of thousands of aspiring and active cybersecurity professionals focused on networking, knowledge sharing, and professional development. I'm Dr. Gerald, Auger, Chief Content Creator at Simply Cyber, inviting you to get the answers to your cybersecurity problems with hundreds of cybersecurity videos answering your frequently asked questions, interviewing industry experts, and live streaming daily cyber threat briefings hosted by me. Now get the stories and insights you won't find anywhere else. Hit subscribe now and dig into all the fresh content on the channel and in the community. Nothing should stop you from launching and leveling up your cybersecurity career today.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you are. My name is Eric Taylor. I am the CEO and Chief Forensic Operator here at Barricade Cyber Solutions, and I am welcoming you to today's July 12th, 2023, episode 406 of the Top Cyber News Daily Threat Briefing. This had so many names that it's just hard to keep up with it these days, but I want to welcome you to the show. I just want to give a heads up. I might be a bit distracted because I may have just landed a major contract for the organization literally right before this. So my mind's a little flustered at the moment. But anyway, so if I seem a little off, that's why. Pretty stoked about this opportunity that I've been working on for almost a year. So it's pretty good. It's pretty good. So bear with me again if I'm a little flustered. I'll try to rein it in a little bit. But welcome. I know everybody here knows me, knows that I do my best to keep it PG. And because of that, we have our illustrious dolphin sound. Let me start up a little bit of intro. I hope everybody is well. Turn that down, turn it down in my headset. So if you are here live, please say hashtag Team Live in the chat. Thank you so much for joining us while we are doing these episodes live. It does mean a lot. I know it's a little preemptive, but please do us a favor right at the start. Smash that thumbs up. We would like you if you do subscribe, but please by smashing that thumbs up button, you are spreading the awareness of this channel and the opportunity to be able to get the most updated information to be able to be impactful on your day. So with that, if you are team hybrid, you're catching up, trying to, listen to me semi-salty in 2x. Hello, say team hybrid. If you are team audio, I always give you guys a shout out when we're here. I see you. I do a lot of podcasting myself, catching up on things. And if you are team passive observer, this is a welcoming community. If you are in that, just say, hey, I'm new here, just passive observer. We'll say hi to you, right? Ask your questions. Join the Discord. I know the mods are in the chat. Do !Discord. Go over there. Very welcoming. The mods there, DJ VSEC, Kimberly can fix it, and on and on and on. The mods there are there to make sure it is an inclusive environment for you to come and join and get and grow your network. And we will talk about networking at the mid-roll. But first, I do want to give a shout out to two of the three stream sponsors. We will start off with Panoptcy Security. We talked about these gentlemen, this gentleman Brandon Poole, who is the CEO over at Panoptcy Security, a lot. If you want to, if your organization is trying to fit, or if you are in your organization, let's put it a different way. If you are in your organization and you're trying to get your CISO, if you're trying to get your C-suite to buy in on the changes that you're recommending, is like, look, we really need MFA on our SSL. A company like Panoptcy Security to be able to do that quantified risk assessment for your organization and be like, look, Mr. or Mrs. Owner, we really need to fix these holes in these particular areas. If not, these are the bad things that are going to happen. Because of our conversations, we know that you make an average of $3.2 million per day. That broke down by an hour, by the minute, is potential downtime if you have this type of compromise, right? So they are able to, when you have that quantified risk assessment, you're able to break it down to real dollars and cents that the C-suite, the CFO can buy in on, and they will completely, be able to understand. It's like, oh well, we're not just doing security for security's sake. We're actually protecting we're actually protecting the network. So sorry, I got a little distracted by mod chat. Those who didn't know, somebody in the mod said they had to take the trash out for some reason. I'm like, oh, I'm trash, I gotta go out. But anyway, to the other stream sponsor, we all know him, we all love him. John Strand is the CISO and operator at Black Hills Information Security. Their website is Black Hills InfoSec. You know what? Let me do this some justice real quick, ladies and gentlemen, because I don't know if the hashtag sponsors is still working. I will get with the mods a little bit later to see if that is going. But I dropped both of the links down there, and they are down in the description, ladies and gentlemen. So definitely go check them out. But just put it in the feed there as well. They do have a lot of pen testing services. They have a lot of education and stuff like that. And I will just tell you, so straight up, full disclosure, like when we are brought into an organization and we're doing the cybersecurity for an organization, we will refer them to Black Hills Information Security. Why? Because they are one of the best. John Strand, was part of SANS. He was a massive instructor for SANS. I do love the people that are over there. I've taken many of their courses. I've taken a lot of Bo's courses in the breaching the cloud, the atomic red teaming. There's a lot of good instructors that are over there, and it's a really, really good organization. You got to have those type of business partnerships when you are providing a service, and I feel that is a conflict of interest if I do a penetration test, if I am protecting your network, right? If our organization is protecting your network, it's, you really don't want to do that. So definitely, reach out to Black Hills Information Security. They do it day in and day out. They have, again, some really, really top-notch people over there, and it's worth the time in the conversation to see, if they would be a good fit for your organization. And for 1 second, I am going to go off mic for a second, and I'm going to take a swig of this coffee. I see Jess Bishop in the chat. They are so dang awesome. They are. With that, we will be doing a little bit of jaw jacking toward the end. I will have a call coming up, probably right after this one so I won't be able to stay long. So if you are interested in asking a question, please save them to the end. Like I said, we'll kind of roll through some of these, and we'll do a little bit of jaw jacking at the end. And kind of go from there. All right. And with that, as Dr. Gerald Auger says, let the cool sounds of the news wash over you in a very cool way. Here we go.
From the CISO series, it's Cybersecurity Headlines.
It's Wednesday, July 12th, 2023. Silk Road's senior advisor sentenced to 20 years in prison. On Tuesday, the U.S. Justice Department announced that Roger Thomas Clark, aka plural of Mongoose and Variety Jones, was sentenced to 20 years in prison for his role as top advisor to Silk Road online black market operators. Clark is accused of conspiring to sell about $213 million worth of illegal drugs and other illicit goods and services, including murder for hire, to more than 100,000 buyers during the market's operation from 2011 to 2013. Silk Road's founder and operator Ross Ulbricht, aka Dread Pirate Roberts, described Clark as a real mentor, advising him about Silk Road's security vulnerabilities, technical infrastructure, and how to govern site users and vendors.
All right. So there's one thing to note, ladies and gentlemen, when you're here. So, Dr. Gerald Auger does his technical or his CISO, and I do more of a technical breakdown of a lot of these news, right? Yeah, I really wish I would have got with DJ Bisek to get the police sounder before this. I do have one that he was generous enough to give me before the show, and I do have it queued up for probably one of the episodes or the stories later. But there are two things, right? So come in here, right? So let's move this. There are two things. You have Silk Road Initiative, and you have the Silk Road. Silk Road Initiative is by China, where they do a lot of infrastructure to countries like South America and things of that nature. They provide pure infrastructure, they provide pure internet, things of that nature. And you have Silk Road, which is the black market. Now, um, I got to be careful with this. I have not seen any correlation that Silk Road Initiative that the China government does and Silk Road Black Market are together, that they're one and the same or operated by some of the same people. A lot of the stories that are coming out, it does seem like they are two different things. But, definitely take it with a big, massive asterisk. I've always assumed that they were part of the same thing, right? Again, not to get political. This is not this show for political banter. But we do see some crazy stuff coming out of China, right? So um, it could be the lines could be easily connected in that type of situation. So I just want people to know that there are two different things and like that. But yeah, it's Silk Road. For those who don't know, they were really the bread and butter to buy things on the black market. And it's not like the whole, we're doing organ harvesting or we're doing, whatever. This is like how to get all your drugs, right? So if you're wanting your crank and your meth and your whatever, and even um, you can get you could get IDs on there. You could get social security numbers on there. You could pretty much anything you wanted that was nefarious or to obfuscate who you really are. You could have found that on there. And there's been plenty of sites that have gone up there, and I know several of you guys and gals in the live chat will know probably listens to not the Darknet Diaries, and I know that they did a couple episodes right there. So if any of you ladies and gentlemen have that, then definitely drop a link for that in the chat so that way other people can enjoy it. It'll take me a little too long to dig that up, and again, I want to be able to make sure I save time for it. But yeah, whoop whoop, sound of the police. So there's an infamous saying. I don't know if it's really used by the younger generation that much, but growing up, I am older. There was a saying, "Don't do the crime if you can't do the time," and everybody thinks that they're invincible, that they're never going to get caught, things of that nature. And all it takes is one mix-up. So, and you're busted, right? So there's been plenty of stories about that. On to the next one.
11 million HCA patients impacted by data breach. HCA Healthcare, operator of US and UK hospitals and healthcare services, announced that its network was compromised, leading to the theft of data belonging to more than 11 million of its patients. On July 5th, reports emerged that stolen HCA data was being offered up for sale on the dark web. HCA confirmed that patient data, including names, contact info, dates of birth, and appointment details, were stolen in the cyber attack, but added that credit cards, medical info, and social security numbers were not affected. Threat actors threatened to leak the trove of HCA data if the company failed to meet its demands by this past Monday.
Yeah, this one has been on our radar a lot in the probably week now, maybe a little less, but there's been a lot of information that's being leaked out on Telegram um, and Twitter pages and things of that nature. That yeah, that this one it's got a lot of data to it. It's got um, it's going to be massively impactful. How big? Let's see, 35 medical. Okay, this bear with me 1 second. Was there something down here? I was looking for how big, like how many locations does HAC Healthcare have? Like, I use, for those who've known me for a really, really long time, we used to do veterinarians, across the country, back when we were doing the MSP stuff, and we tried to get micro focused on stuff, and just trying to be that organization that cared and was willing to serve. So we did that, and a lot of the veterinary clinics would buy out, let's just say Blue Pearl. That's one of the big national ones, and Banfield's another one where they will buy out a they'll buy out clinics and migrate it over to their brand. That's how they grow. And I wonder if HCA Healthcare is kind of like that. But I was curious if the story did say how many locations. I'm curious. All right, what I go sidetrack real quick. Does it say quickly? All right, so and according to Google, or I actually pulled there, so uh, comprises of 186 hospitals and more than 2,000 sites of care. So yeah, this is a pretty big, massive organization, right? So there's going to be a treasure trove of information in there that's going to be just massively, massively. Yeah, James Randolph. Yep, squirrel, squirrel. All right, let's carry on. But yeah, that's if you're a part of HCA Healthcare, if you've ever been there, definitely do a look, see if that may have been part of you. I'm sure it's too fast and loose to see if your potential information was, you know, compromised or about to be leaked or anything like that. But, um, you know, hackers are going to hack, and it seems like healthcare just, will not conform to, security guidelines for whatever reason. So it's, anyway.
Google hit with lawsuit alleging it stole user data to train its AI tools. On Tuesday, Google's parent company, Alphabet, and its AI subsidiary, DeepMind, was hit with a lawsuit alleging the company scraped data from millions of users without their consent in order to develop its AI products, including Bard. The suit was filed by Clarkson Law Firm and alleges that Google violated copyright law due to, quote, secretly stealing everything ever created and shared on the internet by hundreds of millions of Americans, end quote. While Google's privacy policy explicitly states that the company may use publicly accessible info to train its AI models, attorneys at Clarkson say that publicly available does not mean the info is free to use for any purpose. The lawyers added that Google needs to provide people with an opt-out option. The suit is seeking a temporary freeze on commercial access to and commercial development of Google's generative AI tools.
You know what, ladies and gentlemen? Yeah, you know what? No crap, right? I mean, come on. It's Google, for crying out loud. Yeah, Dr. Gerald Auger said it yesterday. He's been saying it for weeks, and I 1,000% agree with him. Data is the new currency, and these organizations are going to scrape as much data off the internet in any means possible that they could be able to collect to, empower themselves, right? So, we've seen this time and time again. They scrape data, they'll get a slap for, 5, 10 million, and it really is quote unquote chump change to them, right? They're like, okay, we'll just pay the fine. The data is worth the fine that we pay, right? So, um, so this actually ties back into the last story. So a little bit, so just a little bit of, what we see in my world. Um, a lot of times when these healthcare companies get breached, did you know? So let me, like that one TikToker says, come in here, or come closer. The when organizations get hit with fines, especially in healthcare, they they have like a certain dollar or up to 10% of their organization's revenue. I mean, come on. So, but yeah, it's these guys are, again, data is a new currency. They're going to scrape it. I will ask you to riddle me this though. When is the last time you've seen something like this? They pay a fine, but they're not allowed to use any of the data that they scraped. I've never seen one case of that. And I was actually talking to some people the other day. Eitan Bishop, see you in the chat. Good to see you, buddy. But I have not seen any of those type of cases come through. So, okay, we scrape the data, we pay a fine, and we can still use the data. Hooray! Come on, right? So, like I said, the fines that they pay are so minuscule to the data that they or the income that they can receive from going over that data set that's going to just populate over and over and over and over again. So it's yeah. Anyway, let's carry on.
California resident charged with cyber attack on water treatment facility. A federal grand jury has indicted 53-year-old Rambler Gallo for intentionally causing damage to a protected computer. Gallo was an employee of an unnamed private company that contracted with Californian water treatment facility Discovery Bay. Gallo was responsible for maintaining Discovery Bay's instrumentation and the computer systems used to control the electromechanical processes. Upon resigning from the company in January 2021, Gallo allegedly remotely accessed Discovery Bay's network and uninstalled the main operational and monitoring system that protected the entire water treatment system, including water pressure, filtration, and chemical levels. Gallo faces a maximum statutory penalty of 10 years in prison and a fine of $250,000. The court could also tack on a term of supervised release, additional assessments, and restitution.
Yeah, so I am so thankful. I'm so thankful that I am on this one, or I'm guest hosting today, because this is a story that I've been watching a little bit, and this is going to get a little salty. So sit back, relax. We're going to go full. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So the crutch of this story, and as much of a nutshell as I can do it, this gentleman, just trying to be respectful to the individual, was an outsourced IT person for the water treatment company, right? And he had remote access to the network, which most IT people, most MSPs and things of that nature, they have that. That's how they provide support to organizations. And this is kind of the same thing, but it's the part that really comes in is, access control measures, policies and procedures around access control. So there's a couple of failures in this one that I really want to point out. One, nobody stepped in and said, "Hey, what software was this guy using for remote access? Do we need it? What is it installed on? And what's the timeline for us to get it uninstalled?" Also, because he had remote access, apparently the passwords never got changed. Potentially his username and passwords never got disabled and changed and then disabled. There's so many breakdown and policies and procedures in this that it's just, to me, from a non-legal standpoint, but I do think that this borderlines negligence, right? So, let's just say you're running, hypothetically, you're a landlord for a business park. You kick out a tenant, or a tenant gracefully leaves a contract and all that stuff, right? You're going to change potentially, you're going to make sure you get your keys back for the building and for the room. You're going to change his access, or his or her, that company's access codes to the alarm if that's there. There's things that you go through. And more times than not, when we're brought in on cases, we see this time and time and time again. Right? So it's please, one thing I cannot stress enough, granted, you need to do security in depth. You need to fortify your business and things of that nature. But one of the first things I try to get people to do, because it is the most time consuming, but it can make such a grave importance and impact on your organization, is asset management. Knowing what's installed, does it need to be there? You know, we're having conversations with the clients all the time. Hey, is this software authorized? We don't really like it, but is it authorized in your organization? Then we're like, okay, let's talk about the business case here. But you got to have these conversations, ladies and gentlemen. Again, really glad that I was able to be a part of this one, because this one is really a massive breakdown in policies and procedures. And I personally think that the company bears a little bit of fault here. Should they be fined or anything? I don't know. I mean, um, they are in infrastructure, right? That is a water treatment facility, maybe owned and operated by the county of Oakland. Because they did come from a federal grand jury, so this was a federal case, which tells me, again, non-legal, that this was a state building, state operation, and the state has controls in place for this stuff, and they're not doing it. So I am curious to see what happens the to the facility. Do they just get a slap on the wrist or whatever? But um, anyway, on with the mid roll.
And now, a word from our sponsor, Opal. Opal is the data-centric identity platform. Identity is one of the last great enterprise frontiers. It's fragmented with legacy architecture. Opal's mission is to empower enterprises to understand and calibrate access end-to-end. The best security teams from companies like Databricks, Figma, Blend, and Drata use Opal to build identity security for scale. To learn more, visit opal.dev, that's opal.dev.
All right, all right, all right. Did I pause?
Hackers
Nope, I did not. Sorry. So we'll just back that up 1 second. All right, ladies and gentlemen. This is the mid roll. Apologies to everybody. I do know today is Wednesday, and unfortunately, if you've been around a little bit, I'm not equipped to do the Worldwide Wednesday. So I do apologize for that. But this is the part of the segment where we do the mid roll if you are new here. Again, thanks to the stream sponsors of Panoptcy, to Black Hills Information Security, their division of training called Antisyphon Training. Definitely go check them out. Have a conversation with those ladies and gentlemen and see, if any of these organizations are potentially a good fit for you and your organization, right? Those who know, we are us at Barricade Cyber, we are an evergreen. We're not going anywhere. We're going to be here as long as Dr. Gerald Auger does this. We want to help empower him to be able to, be able to bring this stuff to you. Sorry, I just realized my audio may have been too loud for that music. Just turn that down. But this is a segment of the show where we do talk about, the Simply Cyber Community Challenge. This is a network on LinkedIn for you to be able to grow your network, find people of like mind and same industry and specialty that you're in, and be able to advance things and be able to go from there, right? So Lacey, remind me and jaw jacking, and I'll pull it up. Anyway, we did have by mods. Kimberly, do you want me to turn that down just a tad more? I'm at 19. Let me turn it down 11. Let me know, chat and mods, please let me know if that's better. Now I just turned it down just a bit more. But the mods brought it up earlier to me. We did want to highlight Nicholas Clark's post. Apparently there was a little bit of snafu. He is new to the group, so welcome, Nicholas. I have not had a chance to meet you or be able to follow you on LinkedIn, but there was a spelling error and it did not get the proper traction. I did drop the link into the chat. So please, if you did not check out Nicholas from the other day, please check him out, read his story, and connect with him if he resonates with you, and grow that one. Now, the baton holder, the gentleman who has the current Simply Cyber Community Challenge, is Eric and Groga. Sorry, I'm going to butcher that last name. Sorry, those who know, Hooked on Phonics never worked for me, unfortunately. Eric, hopefully you are in the chat and are able to pass that baton to somebody. Mods, I do know that a friend of mine has reached out, and I know we talked about it before about nominating somebody. So I do have somebody in mind. If Eric is not available in the chat, um, by the end of the chat, I will nominate that person if mods give me that approval, um, and we'll hear the story from them. So also check out later today, the series about how to market your cyber self. That series is coming up later today, and the definitely check it out. There is a whole series to it. Today they are going to be talking about leveling your thought leadership, right, from zero to hero. How do you become potentially that quote unquote um uh, I hate the term so much, I'm now forgetting it, thought leader, right? I just hate that term, but anyway, it just seems so overused. It's kind of like zero trust, right? But anyway, definitely, check out the series if you've missed any of them. Again, Jack Scott did an awesome job on the last one. That was really, really cool. So definitely check out the entire series. If you're LinkedIn, you're looking to level up your game on LinkedIn. Again, please stick around for a little bit of jaw jacking at the end, because we will try to answer some of your questions if you have some. With that, let's proceed on to the rest of the news today.
Hackers exploit Windows policy loophole to forge driver signatures. Chinese-speaking threat actors have been observed exploiting a loophole in Microsoft Windows policy to forge signatures on kernel mode drivers. While Microsoft restricts how kernel mode drivers can be loaded into the operating system, there is an exception that allows drivers signed with certificates used prior to July 29, 2015. The exception helps prevent compatibility issues with older applications. Threat actors exploited this exception by using open source tools to alter the signing date of malicious drivers. This is a major threat due to the fact that kernel mode drivers operate with the highest privilege level on a Windows system. Microsoft has revoked associated certificates and suspended the developer accounts abusing the loophole. Microsoft also emphasized that threat actors first need to gain administrative privileges on a compromised system in order to abuse the drivers.
Yeah, this one has been on our radar a little bit. I've seen a couple stories come out about this um, earlier this week. I haven't had a chance to really dive into it, but yeah, I mean, this is if they get to this point, right? I mean, when they're able to actually manipulate drivers on the OS, you're in the network, right? You've got so much, going on that it's bad. I would recommend, just as an exercise for your own organization. This goes back to, can you get a hold of this driver? Can you get a hold of how they're exploiting this driver, and run it in a sandbox against your stack? Does your stack detect these type of threats, right? And make sure that you are protected from these things. Um, this is always a big issue um, for these things. I know a lot of EDRs they don't control this. They don't. Sorry, my Teams is now going nuts. Let me close that. I forgot to do that. So yeah, that's definitely, if they are at this level, so they've either fished you with some malicious payloads, or they RDP'd into your system, or they're using a rat remote access tool or whatever, but they're on your system, right? I will just say it's very interesting, the name here. Again, PG-13, quote unquote Disney Room. So we will do the name of it as cert verified time validity. Gosh, I can't talk. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting name to put there. So, but anyway, definitely a takeaway. Put this through your stack. Make sure you're able to detect it. Able to detect persistence. You're able to detect all these things, right? So, we'll kind of go with that. So, I don't want to repeat that one too much.
And now it's time for You Should Probably Patch That, Unless You Can't, Patch Tuesday edition. Microsoft's July security update contains fixes for a whopping 132 flaws, 9 of which are rated critical and 5 of which are being actively exploited in the wild. 2 of the 5 0 days are security bypass flaws requiring user interaction and affecting Microsoft Outlook and Windows Smart Screen. 2 of the other 0 days patched by Microsoft allow for privilege escalation and take advantage of Windows error reporting and Windows MS HTM platform. The 5th actively exploited bug addressed is a Microsoft Outlook security feature bypass vulnerability. Microsoft also warned of a remote code execution bug in Office and Windows HTML being actively exploited by Russian threat actors via phishing campaigns. Microsoft has yet to release a fix for this bug. However, the company says Defender for Office users and those using appropriate attack surface reduction rules are protected from the attachments that attempt to exploit this vulnerability. Microsoft's July update also addresses 4 RCE vulnerabilities in SharePoint Server, which has recently become a popular attacker target. Meanwhile, Adobe's July Patch Tuesday fixes a dozen vulnerabilities in Adobe InDesign for Windows and Mac OS, including a critical code execution flaw and 11 bugs that cause memory leak issues. Adobe also fixed a trio of security defects in Adobe ColdFusion versions 2023, 2021, and 2018. Siemens and Schneider Electric also got in on the bug-fixing action on Tuesday, fixing a total of 50 vulnerabilities affecting their industrial control system products, including a critical issue in Siemens' Symantec CN4100 communication system that can be exploited to gain admin access and take complete control of a device. Meanwhile, VMware warned that an exploit is now available to exploit a critical security vulnerability in its Area Operations for Log Analysis tool for cloud management. The company issued a fix for this bug back in April. And finally, on Monday, Apple pushed a rapid security response update to fix a code execution flaw in WebKit browser in iOS, iPadOS, and macOS Ventura. Almost as soon as the patch went out, Apple pulled the software because it was reportedly causing problems loading certain websites. Mac Rumors said Apple will likely re-release the patches when the glitches have been addressed.
All right, so that was a lot of that was a lot, ladies and gentlemen. So we do have the infamous new sounder that we'll have.
You gotta patch it.
So that's the sound of Dr. Gerald Auger from one of the episodes, previous episodes, that credits to DJ BSEC for giving that that wonderful sounder.
You gotta patch it.
So yeah, there was, we did see some of these things. There is one thing that's in here that you need to be aware of a little bit, and it is testing your patches. It's really hard to do that in smaller organizations, and heck, even larger organizations, where oh my gosh, that actually reminds me of a new ransomware. That image right there, oh my gosh, it's giving me flash. We'll talk about that in a moment. So oh gosh, that just train. Oh yeah, patching. There is we see a lot of times with primarily Microsoft is a big issue with this, and they pull back patches because it ends up breaking, where they're it seems like their quality assurance department just doesn't do what they're supposed to be doing in a proper environment. Granted, it's hard to talk or try to test for every possible scenario, right? And so you are going to have some unexpected outcomes in the environment. So, but definitely there's a lot of patches out there. Definitely do your due diligence. See, stand up those VMs, and do as much testing with these patches with your software installed, like your line of business applications that you have, you know, test them and see, are there any unexpected consequences from launching your applications? What kind of possible business impact is this going to potentially have on you, right? So, you know, patch your stuff. Before we get on to the next one, I do see from Jenny Housley, one of the illustrious mods, for me to go ahead and tag my friend. I do believe I seen him in here. Jim Lund, are you in the chat? If you are, please say yes. Please, I do know that you have volunteered to me to say that you wanted to do the cybersecurity, Simply Cyber Community Challenge, and I will pass the baton to you, sir, if you're there, and be able to tell us your potential story. Yes, he is. I see him in the chat. Awesome. Good to see you, buddy. I will assume that you are accepting the baton. Please confirm that for the mods, and just want that official acceptance, and we can carry on.
British teens accused of masterminding hacks on Uber and Rockstar Games. 2 UK teenagers were accused of being key members of the notorious Lapsus hacking group and involved in attacks on companies including Nvidia, Rockstar Games, and Uber. Ariane Curtage, 18, and an unnamed 17-year-old male were charged with computer misuse, blackmail, and fraud. Curtage allegedly posed as a contractor at Rockstar to steal code for the latest installment of Grand Theft Auto and leaked it on hacking forums while soliciting a ransom payment. Prosecutors said police connected the hacks with the teenagers through IP addresses, linked to devices, and online accounts that the teens used to boast about the hacks. The 17-year-old pleaded guilty to 2 hacking charges, while Curtage was found medically unfit to stand trial, and therefore a jury will only decide whether he is liable for the alleged crimes rather than guilty of them.
Oh, this is flashbacks. So those who don't know a lot about my story, there's pretty good podcast by 2 cyber chicks by Erica McDuffie, I believe that's her last name, and Jack Scott, where I talk about being a kid doing nefarious things and stuff like that, and I can tell you from experience, that these kids probably boasted themselves a little too much, and um, they ended up getting caught for it or whatever. So it is interesting that they were able to penetrate the organization to become a potential employee of that organization. If I read that, sorry, the Bloomberg is all grayed out, so I'm trying to pull it from other sources as well. Just scanning this real quick. So, now the one thing I would like to see, this come out a little bit more. They did do a fintech. So those who don't know, fintech is a financial firm. So if you see fintech, it's fine. They're talking about financial institutions, or technology that supports financial institutions, I should say. Let's correct that error live. I do wonder if this may be a possible case of they were on bug bounty or something like that, and because I know Uber's on HackerOne. I know Rockstar is, I think, BugCrowd, maybe HackerOne. I don't know about the Revolut Ltd. But yeah, I'm wondering if these kids just took it too far, or that they were actually being malicious. So definitely keep an eye out for it. But anyway, I do know I am running a little bit over, so let's try to get to the last story, and then try to have a little bit of time for jaw checking, ladies and gentlemen.
Russian naval officer killed near home may have been tracked on fitness app. Stanislav Verzhitsky, a former Russian submarine captain, was shot dead by an unidentified assailant while jogging in the Russian city of Krasnodar on Monday. An online Russian publication reported that Verzhitsky maintained a public account on a fitness app called Strava that showed him taking the same route on his morning runs, and that may have allowed the assassin to track him. The fitness tracking app has repeatedly raised concerns among security experts, including reportedly being used to identify secret military bases. And that does it for today's cyber.
Sorry, moved my thing the other way. This actually reminds me of another story where I'll have to go back and dig it up, and then I'll shoot it over to Dr. Gerald Auger, so maybe in his next jaw jacking he can be able to talk about it. Again, just want to be respectful of time. But this reminds me of another story where I don't know. Oh gosh, I'm not sure if it was a Darknet Diary story. Probably not, because it was definitely recent. But people were able to, cyber stalk people for, based off of open API calls for these things, because a lot of the integrations that will go with your Fitbit and your other wearable devices, are able to integrate with so many other things like your iPhone and your Pixel and your other Google devices, and you've got sneakers that can do tracking, and your bicycle Garmin stuff, and I mean all that stuff is designed to be interchangeable, and it really is the IoT network, the Internet of Things for this. But it's interesting that they were able to go after this individual by tracking on that app. I feel sorry for the families. The hearts always go out to those, because I mean, I would assume it didn't. I don't think it said it in the story. If it did, I missed it. But I mean, just because you're a person of war does not mean that you may need to necessarily get gunned down at the front of your house. I don't know about this individual. Maybe he was a bad dude and that's why they gunned him down. I don't know. I don't want to go that far into that political ecosystem, but being in the military myself, you would hope that any actions you did overseas stay overseas, kind of like the what happens in Russia, or what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, type of thing. So you never expect whatever you may potentially do in the military to come back and haunt you, in your neighborhood or on your own personal property grounds. So it's interesting, right? It's definitely follow that story. Definitely follow it. With that is the news, ladies and gentlemen. If you're just here for that, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, thanks to Dr. Gerald Auger for allowing me to guest host a quote-unquote a chair today. I greatly do appreciate it. It's always a true honor to be able to step in and be able to fill that role and that gap, so that way he can be able to take that time off. And thank you so much, everybody here, for again being so warm and accepting for my saltiness, and allowing me to be part of the wonderful community that's being built out here. I do greatly appreciate it. So again, if you're here for just the news, thank you again for tuning in. We will get started with a few minutes of jaw jacking. Let me just check my phone, make sure I didn't get anything too critical coming in. My wonderful bride messaged me. All right, so yeah, we will start. We'll start the jaw jacking session for a few minutes here. I don't see anything too critical. So if you have a question for me, do me a favor, put the the letter Q in front of it, and Smiley. I see you, Smiley. I see you. But put a question, the letter Q in front, ask your question, and I will do my best to mention it. I did see did we have a super chat come through the chat earlier that I completely overlooked? If we did, I want to give that person a shout out. I'm going back. Yep, let's go, Nick. What? Do we become best friends? Thank you. Thank you, Jen Housley. Thank you, Eric Taylor. Thank you so much for that super chat. Definitely do appreciate it. Jerry dropped me a super chat too. What, Jerry? Did we become best friends? Yep, we just did. It's interesting, the super chats. They came over on Dr. Gerald Auger's channel. I mean, he's just paying himself. Unless he did it. I don't think I have super chats enabled on my stream. With that, we are, if I can, let's do a little shameless plug, right? If we can. Go over to LinkedIn and do me a favor and connect with me, right? Or send a follow. We do have some other. We're getting more and more back into a lot of the technical breakdowns. I just dropped a link into the chat, and I do a lot more technical breakdowns on some of the stuff that comes up. It is, pretty much when it comes out, then we try to I try to do a little bit of a technical deep dive. Jazzy Jazz, where can we listen to the Barricade song? Okay, so let me pull that up. The original was by Rebecca Tolbach, I think her name is. Give me 1 second. I will get that right now for you. Rachel Tobach. So she was another person that was very, very kind. I'll drop the link here in chat. That is the full video. I did message her last year and asked her if I could be able to use as part of the bumper for our outro. Then she was gracious to allow us to do that. So we do have it on as part of the outro for at least our stuff. Another question came in. Where did I go? Where is my chat going? Sorry, let me try it this other way. Mods, if you can help me out, for some reason. Oh, there we are. What's the latest you're working on that's interesting that you can tell us about generically? Can't really can fix it. So we do have a couple things that we are working out, but there's nothing that I can really speak about publicly yet. But we'll kind of go from there. We'll try to loop everybody in as things kind of pop up and kind of go from there, right? So question, what is the name of the song that you played in the mid show? It's actually just 2 royalty-free songs that's on Stream Deck. I will drop that into the Discord. Your link didn't drop in chat. Okay, I'll drop it again. Let me actually drop this into the mod chat as well, so the mods will have it. Let me drop that into the chat itself. But yeah, I'll drop them into Discord, and so that way you can have them. They're only like a minute or so long, but they're just some royalty-free stuff. Let's see. What, if any, channel sites do you use? Do you see the pros for your company to use in finding employees? To be honest with you, that has been a struggle. A lot of times when we'll hire, when I've hired in the past, we've used LinkedIn. That's been some mixed results. We've used some headhunter services. There's one that is escape. I know it's not Indeed or something like that. There's another one that is escaping me. We've had some mixed results with that. But we're the next tactic that we're doing is people from the community. So I've said it before here that we will put the job anytime we're going to be hiring next. We'll put the job offer here to the community, and vet out and hire from within this community first before we really try to seek public things, because a lot of times when you do the public stuff, you get so many people applying that want to do it that has never ever done any of this stuff before, right? So it's a mixed bag. So again, that's what my plan is to hire potentially from the community. So any advice on starting your first IT job? I've said this time and time again, that you got to have the patience. You got to have the drive and the willingness to learn, and be able to be humble, right? Now, so my biggest downfall, especially when I got into the industry, is my head grew too big too fast, thinking I knew stuff that I did not truly know, or I knew enough about stuff to be the quote unquote fake it till you make it, and I fell on my face a number of times. So be humble, have the drive, have the passion, and just find that company that resonates with you, right? Try your local mom and pop IT stores. They do exist. They are a little bit harder to find, but they do in fact exist. So maybe try that as as your first one, and a lot of them will allow you to even intern for a couple of months and then kind of go from there, right? I'm also glad you're doing forensics for the team I am on. I guess that wasn't a question, maybe a comment. I don't know. Lacey, do I know you? I'm not sure. Sorry, I'm spacing out on that one. Take a couple more questions. I got one client that's calling me that really is desperate for my attention. In your opinion, which cloud security certificate is more valuable today, AWS or Azure? So that is a interesting question. In my mindset, AWS is a good system, as well as Azure. I personally think. Sorry, I'm thinking out this. Okay, so let's take a step back. What type of clients are you wanting to work with, or what type of clients is your business that you're working for want to work with? If they are in more of a government, local municipality, potentially even enterprise, things of that nature, more of the times than not, they're probably going to evolve over to Azure. A lot of programmers, developers, just because you can do quick containers and things of that nature, they will migrate over to AWS, because it's just the it's just really more friendlier for that type of industry. So it really depends on who the client you're trying to serve and help out is where do they reside at, right? So it's kind of the mentality of, if you want to um, get a bunch of clients that are doctors, where do doctors kind of go to hang out type of sales mentality, to those doctor specific conferences and things of that nature. So it's kind of the same mindset a little bit, if you will. So kind of keep that in mind, when vetting it out. So, I'm all about getting certificates and completing that, but, it's got to be applicable to what you're doing, right? So, um, Scott Back says AWS is bigger. I would agree with you. I do think AWS is bigger than Azure, um, and, unless you're talking about the Gov Cloud, which I do think Amazon is probably, or Azure is potentially stomping AWS on. But it's hard to get those metrics right. So because it is supposed to be private. Scrolling through. Question: what are some of your recommended certificates to get into offensive security? I am going to take that at Dash as pen testing. There's pen testing is definitely an interesting situation for certifications. I had my certified ethical hacker, CEH, for many years, and when I was doing a ton of it, nobody ever asked me to prove that I was that, right? They just said, they got, they just need this, and because of the conversations, they trusted me to be able to do things, and kind of went from there. So the pen testing is definitely very interesting. I know a lot of people, even a lot of larger YouTube people, that potentially they had their CEH and they never ended up they ended up dropping it a couple of years later. I do know there's one other one certification that is being really pummeled upon, just because the torment and the anguish that you got to put yourself through the actual physical testing. It's, if I remember right, it's like a 36 or 48 hour test that's just nonstop. It's crazy. So I would say look into it, see which ones resonate with you. Maybe even take, I talked about this in the beginning, Black Hills Information Security, their Antisyphon, that Bo, and I forget Bo's last name at the moment, but he's got Breach in the Cloud. That is a very, very awesome class. They've got a couple other ones as well that are really good. So random question coming in from Ron Clark that I don't see in the chat yet. Question: how many licks does it take a cybersecurity professional to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop? 3. 1, 2, crunch 3. Love it. Question: did you watch the Microsoft? No, I did not watch the intro presentation. I do know it's a massive shift from at the Azure branding name to an intro, I believe is what they're calling it. So we will something to keep on the radar. I have not watched that presentation yet. I do have a flight scheduled later, so maybe I will watch that during that specific downtime if I'm not working on other items. There's the so there's that question. So again, 3, as the owl says, it takes 3 licks to get to the center. Dr. Joe Auger with the comment, Bo Bullock. Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Gerald Auger. Let's see. So this will be the last question. Carrie has asked, Carrie, I know you've had so many problems, man. the just wondering how can I break into something for GRC? What you can tackle. Carrie, that's just a topic I am not familiar with, right? That's just not my swim lane. That's not my ecosystem. And I don't know how to properly advise on that, Carrie. But I do think about you often. I know you're struggling to get in there. So my heart goes out to you again. My thoughts and literally my prayers. To get a little biblical, we are here at our household. We are a praying family, but our prayers are literally with you that you get something soon. So, but it's not my swim lane, so I don't want to advise on that and give you ill-gotten advice, right? So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, I do see some questions. I know Dr. Joe Auger will probably have me back on again at some point in time in the very near future. It has been great talking and chatting with everybody. I hope the rest of your day is fantastic. Thanks again for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see y'all next time. Take care.
There once was a kid whose passwords laid across all sites. They were the same, a criminal, then found their fame by taking that data to go.
Soon may a criminal come to steal your pictures and data and run. One day when the crime is done, they'll steal your account and go.